What's going on, fellas? I'm your host, Manpreet, aka MMA Lock of the Night, and your boy on Twitter at MMALOTN. This week, we're going over UFC 264. Big pay-per-view card that we got coming up, headlined by Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. A bunch of other great fights sprinkled out throughout the card. I'm really excited for it. Can't wait for it. Just recently tweeted out that I'm not excited as much about the McGregor Poirier fight as I am compared to some of the other fights that are on the card, especially that co-main event between Mr. Gilbert Burns and Wonderboy Thompson. But yeah, still excited to break down this card for you guys. Really looking forward to it. And just really happy to get back into the seat, man. It's been a long time, obviously. I've only actually recorded 2 breakdowns, pre-recorded wise, for the Patreon guys. After I jump off this stream, I'll be finishing up those breakdowns and posting on the Patreon, and eventually probably by early morning I'll be dropping the pre-recorded version of the podcast as well, so you guys can check that out. I know a lot of you guys like me, kind of just focused on the camera, not really worrying about the chat and answering questions and all that type of stuff, so that podcast is more often than not for you guys. Interesting week off. Got my second COVID shot. That shit put me down like a ton of bricks. I got it Saturday morning, and I was really feeling it, especially until like yesterday, like brain fog wise, and my arm was just like fucking, it weighed like a fucking elephant. But feel much better now, ready to go. Super excited that we get to come back with a big card like this. You got 4 bets already posted on the Patreon. Again, the plays will be free since I'm not on a 3-event winning streak currently. The plays will be posted on Friday on my social media. That's Instagram and Twitter, so that's where you guys can check that out. But as of right now, they are just on the Patreon. But I want to see if anybody's going to be able to guess what my 2 lock of the night plays are as I go through the card, and we'll see if it can actually be solved. And one more thing before I officially get into the breakdowns and the podcast here. If you guys have been noticing, I've been rocking this, like the new logo. I don't know if you guys can see. Well, yeah, obviously you guys can see a great little hoodie, bunny hug, whatever the fuck you guys want to call it. Good news for you guys. You guys have been asking me for a lock of the night merch. It's gonna be dropping hopefully this week. I got these sweaters. We got a good chunk of them made, ready to go for you guys. It's going to be through my mother-in-law's shop, just as I've always had all my merch. She usually sends it to me, and then I would usually send it out. I've never actually sold merch before. All my merch has been giveaway stuff. So the merch that I'm going to be selling now is actually through my, like I said, my mother-in-law's website. She has her own crafting company, and she's made all my merch, from the mugs to the shirts, the sweaters, the hat. Well, not the hats, actually. Hats I got done through Lids, but everything else, she's pretty much made, the water bottles, all that type of stuff. But right now, we're just going to drop the sweaters. And I know it's summer, but at least I'll get you guys ready for the winter. I believe we'll be able to do some t-shirts as well. So I'm hoping to get some t-shirts up for you guys too. So as soon as I get the link, I will tweet it out. I will Instagram it out, and then obviously drop the link in my YouTube descriptions or my comment section whenever I get the link as well, if you guys are interested in purchasing that. Don't know what the price point or anything is going to be like that. We'll see once it all comes out, but I'm really excited for that, to finally get some merch out there, especially since, the last time I had any merch, I did not have as much of a following as I have right now. I think I was around like 3,000 followers, 2,000 followers the last time I had any merch. Now I'm closer to that 7,000 follower range. So it's been a while, been a long time coming, but there's a ton of other things that I want to get done. And this will be the first of them. So there you guys go. We got some merch on the way. All right, let me see what the chat is saying real quick. Then we'll get into the chat. Then we'll get into the podcast. Apologize if I skip over any of y'all questions. Just want to see if anybody has anything pressing here. Got a lot of my buddies in here. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Justin Villegas is saying it should be a picture of you and your dog with a notorious big crown. One day, that Alfred will definitely get some shine on some merch soon enough. So I can't wait to drop that. The lettering looks sharp. Thank you, Bell Better. Appreciate it. MMA hedge funds Topuria is the lock of the night. My guy Jazz Shergill in the chat. What's going on, brother? Notorious fixing. I will claim copyright on that. Of course you will. All right, let's just get into it. We'll start off with last week's or the prior week's results. Lock of the night play hits. Charles Rosa plus 2.86 units. I believe I bet him at minus what's the line that I got him at? Obviously a lot sweatier than I wanted it to be. I really did not expect the strongest round for Justin James to be the third round. I thought by that point he would be, completely donezo and Rosa would be able to take him down and submit him. But good on, James for fighting for his money the way that he did. If anybody gets that joke, shout out to you guys. Minus 175 is what I got on Charles Rosa. So that cashes for plus 2.86 units. And then the lock of the night play, the dog of the night play misses by about 2 minutes. Julia Avila versus Yulia Stoliarenko under 2.5 minutes. Avila gets the finish with about 30 to 45 seconds left on the clock, but that does not allow her under 2.5 to hit. Shout out to anybody that took the doesn't go to decision instead. That one definitely was the better spot to go, but that's minus 1.5 units there. All in all, plus 1.36 units on the on the night winning event. That snaps a 2-event losing streak for me, so I'm happy to at least get back on the winning track there. The thing that felt the best, though, I know most of you guys that are on Twitter already know about this, but hitting that crazy parlay, I just want to post it up for you guys. I just want to take it for one more victory run, and then I'll let it go. Then I'll completely let it go. But let me see if I can just put it up for you guys right now. If you guys are on Twitter, you know. Let's just put it that way. If you're on Twitter, you know. Let me just share my screen for you guys real quick. Easily the biggest parlay I've ever hit. No doubt about it. Chalk City all day. I don't care. That's cash in my back pocket. There we go. Jalen Bates. I should have probably snipped the one that had them as all winners, but they were all winners. None of them got pushed or anything. Jalen Bates, Sorenbach, Liz Carmouche, Valentin Moldovsky, Henan Fajeda, Antti Delia, Larissa Pacheco, Bruna Capoloza, Dennis Goldsov, Kayla Harrison, Cyril Gahn, Charles Rosa, and the under 2.5 in the Hanato Moicano and Jay Herbert fight. $500 to win 18. Well, I guess the profit on that was about 17.4K because I did hedge just enough to at least get I hedged on Volkov just enough to get my stake back. But all in all, there's about 17.4K to return. Probably one of the craziest parlays I've ever hit. I know it's chalk, don't really give a fuck, but when it's that nice, it's just that nice. So happy to hit that play. That was easily the biggest moment of that weekend for me. Winning an event is great and all, but it's nice to have some of these crazy untracked plays and parlays to come through. So that was definitely some fun time. So that was a great spot. In terms of how that affects my bankroll. So if you guys know, from January, I've been working with $100 unit bankroll pretty much. And I'm going to go over my first half and second quarter results for you guys right now. Apologies. And then I'll let you guys know what I'm going to be doing with my unit skill after that. Let me just see what the chat is saying real quick. Jets Booty with the $5 donation. Appreciate you dropping that, my brother. Sugar Sean, a guarantee pick for you. He's winning. I just don't see how he loses. He's winning. Let's just put it that way. BP was saying Bragan was a lock. Ethan Cruz saying the fame is getting to you. I love you, dude. Tiffany Shriver. I'm a new fan of Lock and I appreciate your work ethic. Thank you, Tiffany. I greatly appreciate that. Search 1, 2, 3. You hit that. I did hit that. I used it. I played it on Intertops. I've been using Intertops a lot since about February, March. And Yeah, it's been fuck how they haven't like banned me, limited me, or like limited the amount of withdrawals I've been making. They're awesome. They are absolutely awesome. The most I can get down on a straight money line MMA fight right now is about $1,100-$1,200. But I can still get decent money down on other sports, which I have been telling my buddy Grinding Eddie and one of my other guys, the Barrel Zone. Not to mention my guy Testudo, whenever he drops his A-League soccer plays, I usually tell him as well. And they've been making me absolute bank since March. So all my plays have been going through Intertops. I'm using Coolbet now as well. I made my lock of the night play on that side as well. One of my dog of the night plays too. But yeah, Intertops, Coolbet, Bookmaker. Those are like my go-tos right now. Pinnacle is there too, but I just haven't been using it that often. MMA hedge funds, that is in chalk, bro. You nailed huge plus money. Exactly. I love it. Aaron Qualis is on Dustin. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on the podcast. Frank Jordan, that parlay is badass. Lock it on you, man. I appreciate it. Sarge, does any site allow more than 3K per withdrawal? I think bookmaker.eu. I think they allow like 50K per week or something like that. But yeah, Intertops is actually only allowing me to take out 3K per week right now, or per 10 days or so, which is fine with me. You know, I mean, I'm not fucking. I'm kind of splurging. I won't lie. I'm splurging a little bit, but not crazy enough. But yeah, it's really working out for me. I appreciate it. Andre, who do you have winning the Euros lock? I don't know, dude. I've just been tailing people. Let's say Italy. I don't fucking know. I think it's Italy and England going to be in the finals, right? We got one more. We got one more game for England. England against Denmark this weekend. Ryan Grant, any safe parlay pieces should be paired up with Makhachev next week for sure. You will definitely find out about those shortly. And I believe, Ryan, if I'm not mistaken, you're on the Patreon, so you're going to get all that information within the next couple of days. So don't worry about that. We'll take full advantage of using Makhachev as a parlay piece to just, cherry on top of these parlays. Harmon Stride, cheers, doc. So pumped about the fights this week. And my head is going with Dustin, but my heart is going with McGregor to win so bad. It's a fun fight for sure. Very polarizing fight as well. All right, let's get back into the episode here. All right, so we did the betting recap for UFC Vegas 30 first half 2021 results. Minus 15.5 units. So not been a great start to the year for me. Especially that first half of the year was bad. I think I was down. I was down pretty bad. I don't recall the exact number, but I was down pretty bad at the beginning of the year. Made some adjustments, I'd say beginning of the second quarter, which allowed me to, have a little bit of profit for the last 3 months compared to the way the first 3 months went. But yeah, not a good start to the year there. But I do know where I made my mistakes. I am aware of where I made my mistakes. And I feel like I'm making the necessary adjustments to make sure that I still end up with green at the end of the year. So minus 15.5 units in the first half and the first 6 months of the year. That's on official plays. Again, minus 15.5 units does not dictate what my bank account currently looks like, as you guys obviously know. Not just that 18K or 17K parlay I just hit. There's been a ton of other spots that I've been hitting. So it's, a lot of it is on track, so I can't really boast too much about it. But officially speaking, minus 15.5 units. In terms of the second half results, plus 1.46 units, 11 and 4 on events. I've been making the adjustments that I need, and slight profit is great and all. Ending in the green is great and all. It means you didn't really lose money over the last 3 months, but I still need to get better at trying to secure even more profit units wise. I mean, I know my reads are good. I know my plays are good. I just need to be a little bit smarter in terms of making sure the track record is just as good. Somebody said something to me a couple of days ago. I forgot who it was, but we were talking about first half results and all that type of stuff and saying, oh, we're down or whatever the fuck it is. But they're like, at the end of the day, the amount that's actually in your bankroll and your bank account and all that type of stuff is what matters. And if it's all coming from, betting or whatever the fuck it is, strictly betting, then it's great. And that's what's been working out for me. So I'm happy with how the bankroll has been working out. So like I said, right before I got into this, my units are going to change now. Obviously they got to change, not just because, that parlay that I hit. Even if that parlay didn't hit, I'd still be adjusting my units at this point in time. So I started off with $100 per unit at the beginning of the year. Now I'm going to be upping it to $200 a unit. Puts a little bit more pressure on myself in terms of making sure that I hit it, so I don't end up, down heavy by the end of the year. But I feel like it needs to be a little bit more indicative of what my actual bankroll is sitting at, and $200 is close. $200 a unit is much closer to what it represents than what $100 a unit would. So I'm going to be going with $200 a unit. So you'll see, like, if I have a 5-unit play, it's going to be $1,000 play, which is good, especially on intertops. Again, I can only max out about 1,100 or so on them. And then, 1-unit play is going to be $200, 2-unit plays $400, and so on and so forth. But that's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. All right, let's see what these last couple of comments say. And then I'm going to get into the breakdowns because I know you guys are itching to hear where I'm at with most of these plays. Oscar Silva, African is in the chat. What's going on, my brother? Good luck in the Lock of the Night competition. Shout out to everybody that joined up on the Lock of the Night competition. The deadline was yesterday. We got about 80 people in the $25 game and about, I believe, closer to 40 in the $100 game. So we got a good chunk of participants, some new, a lot of returning. I will say the reason I'm actually talking about it right now, the Dog of the Night challenge is going to be restarting, I believe, with the July 24th card. So the deadline for that one is going to be, I believe, July 18th. I haven't put out the registration call for it yet, but I will be doing so after this weekend's card. So if you guys are interested in the Dog of the Night challenge, slide in my DMs, and then I'll get to you guys as soon as 264 wraps up. Oscar Silva likes the under 3.5 of Poirier McGregor. He's saying it's his lock. I don't mind that at all. I smacked my head at those 2 injuries. That messes up back to back. Yeah, that it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, you gotta take that on the chin. I know he's talking about the Jamal Hill armbar loss. Lost that fair and square. And then what's the other one? The Murata and Jandiroba over 2.5 is what it is, man. Yeah. About better, down a few K this year. It's been a weird year, even in terms of like prediction. I believe I'm only hitting at about 62% right now. Been a lot of upsets this year. Robert Sella, who you got between Akhmedov or Tavares? I'll be talking about it very, very shortly. Daniel saying O'Malley round 1 or 2 minus 163. I like that. Brass knuckle in the house. Appreciate you stopping by, brother. Andre, did you see Connor's tweets playing big mind games? That's Connor. Connor gonna Connor. Buffo on the beat. Reminding you guys, please do hit that like. Definitely helps your boys out. PSSA 31 is saying, are the rumors about the staph infection true from McGregor? I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. People forgot Brady versus Lee would have been on the Star Ready Start card. Yeah, that would have been a great fucking fight. I don't see how you can back up fire that. Literally lost the same fight 5 months ago. Got to go Poirier. I wish it was that simple. I definitely wish it was that simple, but this is MMA. It's not that simple. Dricus du Plessis is his lock of the night. Interesting. Seems like Tavares is lock of the night. We shall see. Let's go. It's fight week. Yes, sir. Aaron Burr, Topuria KO or decision double chance minus 175. I don't mind that. Jessica is actually a much more live dog than people think. She puts on a lot of volume and pressure. Fernando Cunha might be on the same side as you. I'm going to break down the fights for you guys really, really shortly. Not sure how anyone can back Connor with any confidence until we see him return to form once. I agree. The staff look like a cut / mark from throwing elbows. I agree. All right. I'm not going to keep you guys waiting any longer. Let's get into these breakdowns. And again, I do want to remind you guys, if you guys are going to talk about the fights and want me to answer any of your questions, please do make sure it's relevant to the fight that I'm actually talking about. The way the format of the episode is pretty much, I talk about the fight, I skim to the comment section. If there's any relevant questions or questions that I feel like I need to address, I will address them, and then I'll move on to the next matchup. All right. Let's fucking go. First and foremost, we got the fight that MMA Twitter and MMA gambling Twitter seems to be all over this week. Hu Yaozong or Yaozong Hu going up against Alan Amedovski plus 115 on the Chinese fighter and minus 135 on Amedovski. And Amedovski seems like he's been putting in time over there at Extreme Couture. If you guys go through his IG, it seems like he spent the majority of his camp in his native Bulgaria, if I'm not mistaken, but did spend the last week or so, last couple weeks down there at Extreme Couture. Has a ton of bodies to work with. Obviously, the great Eric Nixick to work with as well. So I'm sure that he's been getting in great training, especially with the fact that he hasn't been inside the cage for close to 2 years now. I could be off on that. I just want to confirm that number, but the last time he fought, he got knocked out by John Phillips, which is just not a good look. He was scheduled to come back in January. That did not come out. He ended up withdrawing. So the last time he fought was, just under 2 years ago. Or is that September of 2019, where he just made the stupidest mistake ever, going in there, slinging leather with John Phillips and allowing John Phillips to win his only UFC fight in 6 attempts. So horrible fight IQ from Amedovski there to try to go out there and get the win that way. And then the fight before that, UFC debut, loses against Krzysztof Jotko, where Jotko put on his wrestling singlet and just took him to town for 15 minutes and grinded him out with the wrestle-heavy game plan. I believe that was Krzysztof Jotko coming off of a knockout loss, so he really wanted to secure a victory. And I don't hate his game plan. It was a very effective game plan. It seemed like Amedovski just had one thing on his mind, which is try to get that knockout. And if he could not get that knockout, he was going to get worn down and gassed out. And that's exactly what happened in that fight. On the flip side, we got Yazong, who has 2 losses to probably 2 of the top 10 worst fighters in UFC history. And I say that with all due respect to these guys, Cyril Asker and Rashad Coulter. So we actually haven't seen Yazong Hu inside the cage since November of 2018. So he's actually been out longer than Amedovski. He fought Asker at heavyweight on short notice, lost that fight. Like I said, second round rear naked choke. Then he goes down to light heavyweight, loses to Rashad Coulter. Close fight. Could have made an argument that Hugh actually won that fight as well, but close fight, loses that fight. And now he's coming down to middleweight, which seems to be his true weight class, where he should be able to go out there and showcase what he actually has to bring to the table. Now, he's 26 years old. He turned 26 back in April. So he was only 22, 23 years old when he was competing in the UFC for the first couple of times. Probably not the best trained. You see, footage of him at Jackson Wink and, him doing stuff over there. But recently, I believe he's been spending time at Tiger Muay Thai as well as the UFC Shanghai PI. So you can definitely see that he's in the best shape of his career. And he really needs to go out there and, right the wrongs of his past, because having those 2 losses on your record is not a good look at all. Now, I think people backing who are more so banking on his potential. If he, can actually follow through and become a decent mixed martial artist, which it seems like he has some decent chops. He had some good glimmering moments in that Rashad Coulter fight, but he seems to have a little bit more well-roundedness to his game compared to what Alan Amedovski brings to the table. Amedovski just wants to go out there and knock your head off, it seems. There was even one fight where he was pretty much grapple fucking his opponent, losing position a lot, allowing his opponent to get out top position. And he was throwing up submissions off of his back, but they just didn't have much zest or much success really written on it, which is why he wasn't able to get them. But then eventually he ends up getting a TKO over his opponent later on in that fight. Here against Hugh, though, if Hugh's cardio is on point, if he can maybe take that a page of the Krzysztof Jotko playbook, he should be able to get this win. Just based on some of those things that I've been seeing on IG with him and what he's been doing over there at the PI in Shanghai, it seems like he's trying to really sharpen up that wrestling, try to get this fight to the ground, which I think he will be able to. And I think he's going to grind this fight out, man. I think as long as his cardio is in check and his wrestling is good enough, he should be able to get his game off here. He did have a 10-month USADA suspension, which is weird that he's been off for over 3 years. But it seems like he's taken the necessary amount of time off to hopefully make the improvements. And again, we're banking on potential here. If he can go there and come through with that potential, he will look really good in this fight. And I think he could actually pull it off. So I'm going to go with Hugh, and I'm going to go with Hugh by decision, but very little confidence here. Like, there's so many times throughout the year that we get these types of fights where guys are just, probably don't deserve to be in the UFC and, are super low level, yet gambling Twitter is just all over it, trying to figure out who's going to win. But I'm going to be on the I'm going to be on the Yazong side here. I'm going to take him to win by decision as well. But very, very close fight, very low level fight as well. I'm not banking on either guy here, but I will give you guys Hugh as my spot here. All right, let's see what the chat is saying. BP saying Allen or pass. You got to look at past that TKO loss from Phillips. Don't just judge him off their loss for sure. I'm judging him off his Jotko loss. I'm judging him off his other wins that he had. I know he was undefeated coming into the UFC, but he seems like a KO kind of guy. Marcus Williams in the chat, loving the info. Keep up the good work. My guy, Marcus, is actually going to be at the fights. Enjoy your time out there, my brother. I appreciate it. Ryan Grant saying Phillips should go to bare knuckle, would be undefeated. I'm right there with you. I would support Phillips in bare knuckle. I'm just saying. The African Amedovski of Macedonia, but around the same area. No real idea on this fight. Would pick Amedovski, gun to my head, but this is a very low level fight. Exactly. There's so many other fights on the card. Why do you want to waste your money on this type of fight? Unless you see an obvious advantage, go for it. James C. Apparently, Hugh has been training at the PI and is in great shape. It looks like it from the pictures I've been seeing online. Justin Villegas, I got Yaozong, or I love it. I love it. I'm not even going to continue with that. Andrew Marchenko. How's it going, Locke? Would you say it's a must-have fight on DK? It feels like a round one finish between these two bums. I think the round one finish would come from Amedovski, if anything. But if Yazong wins, he could win off of takedowns and control time, so he might look good too. So I wouldn't say a must, but they could end up on optimal here. Richard Perez and can't trust these Chinese fighters after that Usman Masvidal card. Yeah, they went 0-3 or 0-4 that night. But still, again, every fighter is a different fighter, and every matchup is a different matchup. And I think Amedovski not the greatest either. Frank Jordan, Hugh is a Tiger Muay Thai, isn't he? He was. But I'm not sure as of late. If I'm not mistaken, Tiger Muay Thai is really starting to fall apart. The Hickman brothers just left. I believe they're starting up their own gym over there in Thailand somehow or somewhere. Sorry. But yeah, even Piotr Yan not trained there anymore. I believe he's down in American Top Team. Same with Movsar Evloev. It seems like Tiger Muay Thai is really starting to fall apart. So I'm sure Hugh has been there for a little bit, but I've seen a good chunk of videos and pictures of him at the PI as well. Adam K saying, I like fight doesn't go to decision. I could see Hugh actually grinding this one out. Vegeta saying, I feel like it's a risky pick to bet on just because Yazong still has a lot of questions. Yeah, that's what I mean. We're betting on potential right now. We're betting on potential. My guy Sun Tzu in the chat, come to New Jersey and watch 264 on my 92-inch screen. Joe, I'm telling you, one day I will take you up on that. I am double vaxxed up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to lick some shit in public. Let's fucking go. I'll come down to New Jersey one of these days, do a road trip to come visit you and watch a card with you, brother. MMA hedge funds. If we lose one fight, let's hope it's this one. I agree. I have to buy Fight Pass to watch early prelims. Why isn't it on ESPN? That sucks. Yeah, you guys in the States have it roughed. Well, we're chilling up here in Canada. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got Zhalgas Zhumagulov going up against Jerome Rivera. Rivera 0-3 in his UFC run thus far, taking another very tough fight. The one, say what you want about my guy Jerome Rivera, but the guy just does not say no to any fights. Wins on the Contender Series back in August, and since then has fought 3 times. He's going to have fought 4 times since his anniversary of his Contender Series fight, which is absolutely crazy. But unfortunately for him, he's 0-3 thus far. Loses to Tyson Nam after a very successful first round against him. I will say I did have a bet on him in that fight, as I do believe he was going to go out there and out-volume Tyson Nam and be able to stay away from the big power. I thought he won the first round, but then in the second round, he goes out there and gets knocked out. Tough fight, but Tyson Nam, we all know, has big power in his hands, and he was lucky that it came through for him that night. The next one, Francisco Figueiredo, has a lot of success with Rivera pretty much no matter where that fight went, and he ends up losing a decision there. And then O'Day Osborne absolutely stiffs him 30 seconds into their fight. So very rough run from Rivera. Not to mention those last two fights, January 20th and February 6th. So they both came within 2 to 3 weeks of each other. And I believe he was doing a favor for the UFC because he was scheduled originally to fight O'Day Osborne on January 20th. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, whether O'Day pulled out or whatever it was. But Jerome stayed on that card, fought Figueiredo, and they managed to swing him around quickly and fight Osborne again and lose that fight. But this one against Zhumagulov, I believe it's I just want to confirm here, but I believe, yeah, out of the 4 fights he's going to have had in the UFC, this is the biggest underdog that he's going to be. But this could also be his best chance at winning the fight. Now, I say that because Zhumagulov hasn't really done much to really blow our socks off, right? The guy comes over as a Fight Night's global champion, has wins over Tyson Nam, the aforementioned Tyson Nam, Tagir Ulanbekov, Ali Bagautinov, and then comes into the UFC. You know, a lot of people say he got robbed against Paiva. I could see the argument for that. And then he loses to Amir Albazi as well. Great work from Albazi to win that fight. But from what I've gathered about Zhumagulov, he seems to be more of a point fighter. He wants to go out there, try to outvolume you, try to land a couple takedowns here and there, but rely heavily on his striking game. But I think that's what Jerome Rivera does too, right? Jerome Rivera, very high volume, good work rate, good pace, good output, and ability to just continuously throw strikes. And the fact that he doesn't really have much knockout power to worry about here, at least I don't believe he does, gives him a chance to win this fight. You know, there's going to be a lot of back and forth exchanges. I'm expecting this fight to go the full 15 minutes. And if it goes the full 15 minutes, I'd rather be holding that ticket that says Jerome Rivera, plus fucking 300, whatever he's at right now, rather than that minus 400 Zagat Zhumagulov ticket. The last time Zhumagulov actually knocked anybody out, March of 2017, he knocked out a 5-0-1 Artur Bagautinov, if I'm not mistaken, is the brother of Ali Bagautinov, knocked him out. But other than that, you got to go way, way back to find out when he knocked out anybody else. So point fighter going up against another potential point fighter. I believe this is going to be a close fight. My pick ultimately is going to be Zhumagulov, but please don't go out there like parlaying him in all these tickets and having a lot of your night bank on him, because it could be a very close fight. I get it. He's Kazakhstani. He has that crazy blood in him that's going to go out there and, make it look like it's going to be a very tough fight for his opponents. But Jerome Rivera, again, volume fighter, has the chops, is on a serious buy low spot right now, especially considering he's 0-3 inside the UFC and it doesn't have the greatest image in most people's minds. But when you actually break him down and how he looks as a fighter and what his ways are to win, this is a winnable fight for him. I'm picking Zhumagulov to win, but if anybody's asking me what side I'd be betting on this fight, I'd be betting the Jerome Rivera, especially that Jerome Rivera via decision line. Let me get what the actual line is on that. Rivera to win via decision, I'd probably take a little bit of a stab on that. Plus 560. There's definite value on that line for sure. So again, Zhumagulov is the pick, but I think that Rivera can make this a very close fight. Ryan grabs Z by decision. Rivera is not UFC material at this point in his career. I disagree. I disagree. Oscar Silva is saying Zhumagulov is a parlay piece for me. I think he wins, but I think you're going to be sweating it more than you're expecting, brother. Would you just saying another loss for Rivera? He's probably getting cut from the UFC. Yeah, if he loses this one, he's probably a goner, which sucks, man. Like losing to a guy like Zhumagulov is not a bad thing. About Barry saying Zuma too much chalk. I agree. Robot Chicken Wings in the chat. Good luck for you this weekend as well. Hayden Schinderman with the facts. Want to use Zuma as a parlay piece, but just can't do it. I agree. Bob Better saying Zuma most overpriced fighter on the card. I agree. MMA hedge funds, if you want to lay your juice on this fight, do it on on over or something, not the side. Yeah, hedge funds is right. Take the total. I don't see either guy finishing here, to be honest. Aaron Burr over 2.5 minus 220. I'd rather parlay that than Zhumagulov. Vegeta, obviously, Zhumagulov is better on the feet and on the ground, even though he's a shorter fighter. Rivera might win the first round. Aaron Burr, you're on the money, my brother. Adam K, yeah, I think the over 2.5 is a good parlay piece. There we go. That's the spot that you guys should be going for. Or if you want to, be a little ballsy, take the Rivera via decision plus 560-ish. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Brad Tavares going up against Omari Akhmedov, minus 160 on Tavares, plus 140 on Akhmedov. And Tavares has been a little bit more active than he's used to be, right? I absolutely butchered the wording on that one there, but actually I lied. Sorry. Well, he's being a little bit more active now than he's been in the past. So he fought Antonio Carlos Jr. back in January. 6 months later, which is usually the best turnaround or time for fighters to turn around, he's back in the cage fighting Omari Akhmedov. But before that Antonio Carlos Jr. fight, he was off for about a year and a half, just under a year and a half, where he lost to Admin Shabazian, and then before that lost to Israel Adesanya a year and a half before that. But now, getting back on the horse, he's getting up there. He's 33 years old. He's been in the UFC for years. He was on the Ultimate Fighter season 11 back in 2010. So it's been 11 years since he's been inside the UFC. His best run, I'd say, he's had a 5-fight winning streak, but he's beaten Dongi Yang, Tom Watson, Ricky Fukuda, Bubba McDaniel, if you guys remember Bubba McDaniel, Lorenz Larkin. Then lost to Romero Boch, and then afterwards was able to put together 4 straight wins. Cal Magalhaes, Elias Theodorou, Talis Leitis, Christoph Jocko, and then he runs into Israel Adesanya in a main event slot and loses that fight. The Antonio Carlos Jr. fight, great fight for him. There were spots where Carlos Jr. was able to get some success, but Tavares did a good job in terms of nullifying that control by landing more damage, really busting up Carlos Jr. on the feet and doing some good work over there. And I'm expecting him to take, have a similar type of fight here with Akhmedov, where Akhmedov is just going to be trying to drag him to the ground, get him to the ground, and grind him out, do that thing that Omari Akhmedov does. Omari, he's one of those guys that just continues to get shit on in terms of his cardio, which is weird. He's winning all these decisions. He's staying lively enough to, to make it to a decision, to survive these third rounds where it looks like he's huffing and puffing a bit, and even win some of these rounds. The fight when he beat Ian Heinisch really opened up my eyes, because I thought Heinisch would really put the work on him there, but he was not able to. He had much more success than Heinisch had later in that fight. Then he goes on, and then his next fight loses to Chris Weidman, and then bounces back with an arm triangle choke victory over Tom Breeze. Weird fight from Tom Breeze. No idea what he was trying to do there. Going for takedowns, pulling for guillotine, trying to sub Akhmedov. And just failed, and then it seemed like he eventually broke, and Akhmedov was just easily able to sink in that arm triangle choke. It almost looked like Tom Breeze was looking for a way out, which is why I think he ended up losing that fight. But Akhmedov, we know what he's about. Big bombs on the feet, big wild winging hooks. He wants to close the distance. He wants to take it to the ground. He wants to pretty much grapple fuck you. Brad Tavares, on the other hand, again, wants to keep this fight on the feet. Much better technical striker, clean, crisp shots down the middle, good movement, very experienced fighter, like I said. But the last time he fought like a true wrestler, Yoel Romero, back in 2014, 7 years ago, where he gave up, I believe, 7 takedowns, and Romero obviously wins that fight via decision. And there's a lot of people out there making the case that nobody has been trying to wrestle Brad Tavares as much as Yoel Romero did back in the day, but there were guys that were shooting for takedowns that were unsuccessful with it. I don't know if this is the concern that I have. I know Akhmedov will get him down, but I just don't trust Akhmedov in terms of being able to grind him out. And if laying on him will do enough, I think Brad will find his way back to his feet. I think he'll be able to land the better strikes on the feet. I think he'll be able to, kind of tee off on Akhmedov and have some good success there. Obviously, he's going to have to worry about the big bombs coming his way and the obvious level change to a potential to a potential takedown attempt from Akhmedov. But if he can mind his P's and Q's, keep Akhmedov on the outside and really just kind of stick behind a jab, stay on his bike, and just dish out the damage, look like, Akhmedov is taking much more damage than whatever Akhmedov is, dishing out to him on the ground, I think Tavares wins this fight. I really like Tavares in the spot. I think he, again, I know he's going to get taken down, but I'm just hoping to trust in his ability to get back to his feet, or at least start to stuff takedowns the later this fight goes, and then really start to put the hurting on Akhmedov and start running away with this fight in terms of damage, rather than the takedowns and the control that Akhmedov will be landing here. So I'm going Tavares, and I'm going to go Tavares by decision. Omari Akhmedov is one durable motherfucker. Though he has been finished 3 times inside the UFC, I'm not sure if Tavares will be able to do replicate that. Not to mention, the last time Akhmedov got finished 5 years ago. So it's been a while since we've seen him actually take an L via finish. But I do think that Tavares will grind this fight out via decision. All right, let's see what the chat be saying. Ryan Grant, Tavares by decision or pass. I agree. But better saying I like Akhmedov by blanket. Again, it could go either way. Plus, you get him, underdog money for Akhmedov, so I don't hate it either. Hayden Shinderman saying Tavares, I think, is the lock of the night. I will neither confirm nor deny any of the suggestions. You guys are going to have to wait till Friday unless you're on the Patreon. Duke Cody, Tavares scores just under 80% to takedown defense, and that's Omari's only path to win is takedowns. Omari's cardio will fail after a second round, and Brad will eat him up. I like that as well. JSJ saying Tavares has some of the best defensive wrestling in the UFC period. I do agree. James C. Way too much made of Tavares' takedown defense against Shoeface. Yeah, Akhmedov obviously much better wrestler than what Shoeface brought to the table. But Tavares guesses too, and it isn't super active. Close fight though, right? I do trust in Tavares' ability to keep the fight standing the later it goes, though. The African Tavares via decision seems like a play. Never been a big finisher, and he has a very strong takedown defense. I agree. Richard Perez, Tavares takedown D is going to win this one. I hope it holds up. Again, this is probably the best wrestler he's fought maybe since Romero. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. JSJ, Tavares round 3 plus 1,500. I don't mind it. I think I've taken too many shots on fading Omari Akhmedov in round 3. I'll probably keep my money in my pocket this time around, but I definitely do see it. Tavares, not much of a finisher either, though. Robert Sella, Yoel was a way better wrestler back then. I do agree. Adam K, I think you should live bet Tavares. Akhmedov wins round 1. Great point. Absolutely great point there. A clear scorecards, no action look on Brad. Got any odds on that? I'd be surprised if Brad wins, though. Or sorry, if Brad gets the finish. Wael Al-Gaban, Tavares a true OG. I hope he wins. Yeah, I agree. But better is passing. Vegeta, I like Akhmedov, but I also got Tavares by decision. I do like that. Niklaus West, my guy. I can see rounds 1 and 2 to Omari, and I don't see Tavares getting a finish in the third or 10-8 to a draw. Yeah, I think the key here is that second round. We'll see how that second round goes. Tavares' takedown defense is underrated. I agree. Oscar Silva, Tavares' takedown defense was spectacular against ACJ. He will piece up Omari on the feet. Again, ACJ and Omari, completely different wrestlers in terms of the credentials and success. I think Omari will be successful on a couple of takedowns here, but I just don't believe he has the longevity to within the fight take full advantage of that against Tavares. Robert Sella, sprinkle on a drive live, in my opinion, possibly. Philip Prus is 2 saying Tavares is pretty good takedown defense and better cardio, but might just bet the over to cover both sides. Yeah, this is another spot. Just like the Zalgas and the Rivera fight, the over is probably the way to go here. Over 2.5 is minus 245. So probably parlay material if you guys are feeling squirrely, like my guy Niklaus West just said, and you want to start off the night, nice. I would parlay the Rivera Zhumagulov over and the Tavares Akhmedov over. I believe that should give you close to evenish money. There you go. Ursel Mwambeki, what's up, lock of the night? Appreciate you stopping by, brother. All right, next fight. We got Jennifer Maia going up against Jessica I. We got minus 190 on Maia, plus 165 on I, and I just do not understand the line here on Jennifer Maia at all. What is this line? And And it hasn't even moved much either. It's pretty much been the same line for at least the last week or so. So Jennifer Maia obviously coming off her title shots. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko, I believe, back in November. But she shocked a lot of people. She managed to reverse a takedown attempt from Shevchenko in that second round, and then eventually get on top of her and grind out, I believe, like 2.5 minutes of that second round. And it was hilarious because I think like the live betting line went from like minus 1,200 or minus 1,500 down to minus 300 going into round 3. And then it went back up after Valentina Shevchenko started to go, really started to take over again. I forgot what the takedown attempt was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember Shevchenko tried it. She whiffed on it. Maia took full advantage, reversed, and ended up on top. And then in the third or fourth round, Shevchenko tried it again, and it worked. Like, she fixed her mistakes, and she made it work, and she ended up on top, and she just started grinding out Maia that way. I truly think that there's a heavy amount of recency bias on the fact that Jennifer Maia was able to steal at least the second round from Valentina Shevchenko, which is why people are so high on her here. Historically speaking, she's not a takedown artist. She's 2 of 4 on takedowns in her UFC career. Where is this narrative that she's just going to go out there and grapple fuck guy? That's not how she fights. You guys watch Jennifer Maia fights. You guys do the tape. She's a striker. She wants to go out there. She wants to strike. Yeah, she got taken down by Joanne Calderwood and pulled off an armbar. But she didn't engage in that. She wasn't the one that took the fight to the ground. That she's, like I said, 2 of 4 on takedowns. She's only shot 4 takedowns inside the UFC. I expect this fight to be on the feet for the most part. And I'm expecting it to be quite competitive. They both have a similar opponent, or a couple of similar opponents, but the one that I want to talk about is the Katlyn Chookagian fight. We know what Chookagian's style is, right? Stick and move, stick and move, stick and move, stay on your bicycle, stay away from the big shots. Jennifer Maia was whiffing at air the entire time, anytime Chookagian tried to close the distance. Jessica Ai, on the other hand, she was cutting off Katlyn Chookagian, right? She was cutting her off. She was going first. She was throwing combinations. She was really hitting and landing on Chookagian, something that Maia had a lot of difficulty with. So I think this fight is going to be competitive on the feet in terms of both girls are going to be throwing volume. Both girls are going to be throwing combinations. But I think that Jessica Ai, just as, the way that she won the Viviane Araujo fight, and that might be a little bit of an anomaly, but like that fight is kind of similar to the Katlyn Chookagian fight in the fact that she was going first. She was kind of pushing the pace. She was dictating the pace. She was moving forward. And she was just really landing the combinations, really stifling the forward movement and the pressure that Araujo and Chookagian were trying to put on her. And I think she's going to be able to, she will be successful in doing that here against Jennifer Maia. Now, people are going to do the MMA math, right? Jennifer Maia beat Joanne Calderwood. Calderwood just lit up Jessica Ai for 3 rounds. But Calderwood and Jennifer Maia are completely different fighters in terms of their striking style. Joanne Calderwood is very persistent with her output, more often than not, landing, 100 plus strikes a fight, 120, 135 strikes. I think she landed 145 against Jessica Ai. But she was just consistent, popping shots out there, front kick, combinations, whatever it was. She's always throwing shots out there. Jennifer Maia, she doesn't fight like that. She throws, a big combination here and there, but she doesn't throw that crazy, output and volume. That's where I think that Ai is going to be able to take over. I'm hoping that Ai doesn't come out here and try to just grapple fuck her like she tried to do against Joanne Calderwood and failed in doing so. I think if she just implements her regular striking game, she will make this competitive, and this will be a very close fight. It will probably go to a split decision. And again, I'm taking the value here. I'm taking Jessica Ai. Plus 165 is too nice of a line to pass up on a fight that should be closer to minus 115, minus 110. This should be a pick'em fight. But there is love on Jennifer Maia because she stole one round from Valentina Shevchenko. So I'm going Jessica Ai, plus 165. I think she's one of the better dogs on the card. I like Jessica Ai. Ryan Grant saying Jessica Ai by OnlyFans. Cody just wants me to completely skip this fight. You can't skip this fight when there's decent money to be made on this fight. Justin Villegas, he sounds like a Jerry Seinfeld stand-up. Shit. I bet Maia minus 188. Ai is trash. Trust me, I am more often than not on the fade Jessica Ai train. I bet Cynthia Calvillo, I can't recall. I don't think I bet Joanne Calderwood last time around. Normally I fade Jessica Eye, but Maia is nothing special either. I think like in this division, it's Valentina Shevchenko, and then there's like a plot of girls under her. Jessica Eye, Jennifer Maia, Joanne Calderwood, Katlyn Chookagian, throw in Viviane Araujo in there, Lauren Murphy, Andrea Lee. All these girls should more often not be pick 'em against each other. This is another prime example where they should be pick 'em. Aaron Burr, I buy decision as a play. I absolutely agree. Better saying Maia as a finisher. She got an arm bar over fucking Joanne Calderwood. What other finishes does she have? That's like the only finish she has since 2015, where she KO'd a 2-7-1 girl at Samurai FC 12. She's not that much of a finisher. What does Jessica do well? She throws in combinations. She has volume. Like, I think she does enough to make the fight competitive. Just the way she beat Viviane Araujo, just the way she beat Katlyn Chookagian. Like, again, it's the fun thing to do to shit on a girl like Jessica. And I've done it in the past, but I just don't think that this line is indicative of how this fight will play out at all. I think there is just too much recency bias here on Jennifer Maia, being one of the only people outside of Amanda Nunes to have any success against Valentina Shevchenko, and even in a way that she doesn't even normally fight, which is top control. That's not her game. Richard Perez, I feel like the odds are reflecting that reversal on Shevchenko. This is a pass for me. I can't pass up on value here in a fight that I feel like should be a pick 'em. I love Jessica in this spot. Evan Dolan has Maia has eye covered everywhere. I disagree. Maia has KO power. I disagree. 6 degrees of Amanda Nunes here. I like it. Eye has value. I agree. Derek, Maia went from championship fight to early prelims. That's what often happens with a lot of these those fighters. MMA hedge funds up on Eye as well. Just makes sense for the fight. I agree. Ursel, Eye more focused on her OnlyFans. I think I disagree. Adam K, if Maia goes for takedown, she'll look like minus 250, but who knows where her game plan will be. Again, that's just not her game normally, right? Again, 2 of 4 on takedowns in how many UFC fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 6 fights, she's 2 of 4 on takedowns. Do what you will with that information, my friends. All right, let's move on to the next fights. Dricus du Plessis versus Trevin Giles. Close fight, minus 115 on the du Plessis side, minus 105 on Giles. Tough fight for me to break down, but also one that's going to be very frustrating if you have a bet on it on either side here. I think that both guys bring some good things to the table, but the one thing that's lacking in both of their game is output, right? They're a little bit too calm with and confident with being patient. Luckily for them, they're fighting each other here, so whoever decides to pick up the pace a little bit more probably gets the edge on either side. But I do actually end up leaning on the Trevin Giles side of things. I think he will have the ability to kind of dictate where this fight goes. Du Plessis at times seems like he gives up his back foot a little bit too much and just waits a little bit too much. Giles, on the other hand, I think he's going to have the speed advantage. I think his jab is definitely going to allow him to have massive amount of success here. Stick behind that jab, that speed, that movement. Hopefully he doesn't have the cardio dump. He's one of those guys that I just don't feel like I can get a good read on in terms of what his cardio is like. There's times in the James Krause fight where his cardio doesn't look good. Then there's fights like the Bavon Lewis fight where he finishes Bavon Lewis in the 3rd round. There's just, he's kind of Jekyll and Hyde with his cardio, in my opinion. But I do think that he's going to have the advantage here in the striking realm, which is where I expect this fight to completely take place for the majority of 15 minutes. There is the potential of a finish from either guy here, but I do think that this fight does go up, does end up going the full 15 minutes. Giles is going to outstrike du Plessis, maybe land a couple takedowns here and there. He is going to have to be a little bit worrisome on the ground, but I do think that he has enough BJJ credentials to stay out of any type of submission threat that du Plessis brings to the table here. Not to mention the majority of Duplessis's finishes have come via submission. He has 15 wins. I believe nine of them are via submission. So Giles is going to have to be very, very careful if this fight does hit the ground. But I do think that he will have the advantage in terms of landing the better strikes and more significant strikes on the feet and outworking Duplessis en route to a decision victory. Again, no real heavy confidence level on this fight, but I do like Giles to get it done and done via decision. Or someone, Becky saying, I think Suarez has a shot at the fight, which I'm to bullet. Yeah, I think Suarez is now up at 125 pounds, right? She's fighting Roxanne Modafferi. Yeah, I think I'd possibly even bet Suarez to win that fight. Richard Perez, if there was a play for me, I'd be comfortable taking the 2 over 2.5. That is the last fight that we just talked about. The African, I talk to Drickus pretty often. He walks around at 210 plus pounds, killed himself getting down to 170. Still had success against Roberto Soldic, who was a better striker than Jaws by a level of magnitudes. Yeah, Soldic is an absolute beast. Glad that that is definitely a huge win for Duplessis. If I'm not mistaken, Soldic did get his revenge in the next fight by knocking him out in the 3rd round. Yeah, Giles is a tough one. Sometimes he looks great, sometimes he doesn't look good. African also saying Giles is also wide open for leg kicks and has had 0 answers for it in his entire career. Yeah, if Duplessis wants to attack that consistently, he could have a lot of success for that for sure. Bet better going not goes the distance. Cody's on Duplessis by KO. Hedge funds, Duplessis has a bright future, but man, this is a tough one for him. Yeah, Giles is weird. Like, he's not a guy that I ever expect to make the top 10 of the division, but like stylistically speaking, he can make fights very tough for his opponents. MMA Kappa taking a stab on the South African nutter here. Giles' clean hands are a worry, but I feel Drickus starts to drown him as the fight goes on. Giles known to slow down. Yeah, sometimes he slows down, sometimes he doesn't. That's the issue. Uncle Weezy in the house. Hopefully he'll be dropping some more stats throughout the stream for you, boy, but I appreciate you stopping by, my guy. 30 of these guys, 33 combined fights have finished inside the distance. Fight doesn't go to decision is the best bet for this fight. I also like Giles' money line. Interesting. Well, Duplessis only has 2 losses, right? One of them getting choked out by the Soldier of God, I believe his name was, Gareth McLennan. Soldier Boy. South African guy, Gareth McLennan, choked him out back in 2014, and then obviously got knocked out by Roberto Soldic back in 2018. I see this one going the distance. Again, stats are probably against me there, but based on how these guys stack up against each other, I'm seeing it going the full 15, to be honest. Urso saying Jaws has the best jab in the middleweight division. It's fast. It's stinging. He dropped fucking Bevon Lewis with it a couple times too. Should be a fun fight. Urso saying I don't think Duplessis is more dangerous than Dolidze. He's just a little bit too lackadaisical for my liking. That's my issue with him. He just doesn't really have that go button. You know what I mean? Waits a little bit too much. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Ilya Topuria going up against Ryan Hall. Minus 225 on Topuria, plus 185 on Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall, we have not seen in the cage for a while now. I believe the last time that we actually saw him was back in, 2019. Yeah, 2019 pre-COVID, goes out there and gets a decision victory over Darren Elkins. And now this is like Ryan, breaking down Ryan Hall is a true test of seeing whether your capper has done his work or not in terms of running the tape or not. Because most people will probably just say, oh, Ryan Hall, jiu-jitsu wizard, meaning he just, spams takedowns, try to get the fight to the ground, tries to control his opponent, finding his submissions. But if you actually watch Ryan Hall's fights, he fights like a guy that does not give a fuck about being taken down, nor does he give a fuck about trying to get the takedown. Like, he'll roll for fucking the knee bar or whatever the hell. That's kind of like his way of getting the fight to the ground. Otherwise, hands down, super loose, super lanky, spinning hook kicks, spinning heel kicks, whatever the fuck. He's just very wild on the feet because his lack of respect for his opponent's jiu-jitsu capabilities. He doesn't give a fuck, whether he gets taken down or whatever it may be. He wants the fight to eventually end up on the ground, but he just throws everything into his shots on the feet, and he's just so wild and unorthodox that it just catches his opponents off guard at times. But the difference here between, Darren Elkins, BJ Penn, Gray Maynard, Artem Lobov, is those are like aged guys, aged veterans, way past their primes, compared to Ilia Topuria on his way up, 26, 24 years old. And, looks like an absolute monster. Now, I've been following Topuria for a while now. Actually, about 5 fights now I've been following him, dating back to his 2018 fight, June of 2018, where he got an anaconda choke victory over Brian Bouland at Cage Warriors 94. I actually bet him in that fight as a very slight underdog. I think he was around like plus 150 or something like that. I don't know why the fuck I was betting on Cage Warriors back then. I was maybe a year into like taking betting seriously, and I taped Topuria, very minimal tape out there on him. Not to mention, before the Brian Bouland fight, the best fighter that he had fought was an 8-1 guy who he ended up mounted guillotine choking in round 1. And then obviously his other opponents 0-0, 0-0, 3-5. There's a huge question mark regarding the level of competition that he was fighting before Brian Bouland. But I felt like he had great takedowns, a good submission game, and it showed off in that fight against Bouland as he was able to get that anaconda choke a minute and a half into that first round. Then he goes out there, 2 more first-round finishes, makes his UFC debut, gets a decision victory over Yusuf Zalal, and then knocks out Damon Jackson 2 months after that. And he's rolling. Easily one of the hottest prospects in the UFC right now, hence why he's a minus 225 favorite here. I could be off on this, but I believe the fact is Ilia Topuria is one of the first ever black belts that Spain has actually produced, and it shows because this guy is a savage with his chokes, his anaconda chokes, Darce chokes, all that shit. The guy can definitely tie you up into a pretzel if he wants to. And there's been a ton of talk this week in terms of him wanting to test his jiu-jitsu against Ryan Hall. And I wouldn't really suggest that or recommend that for Topuria to take that type of approach, as I believe he's a much better striker here. And his striking is only getting better. I do think he'll be able to kind of see and telegraph all the shots that Hall is going to be throwing at him here, and then just counter him with some beautiful combinations. But even if he decides to take this fight to the ground, he's not going to be in as much danger as a lot of other people would be if they were to take Ryan Hall to the ground. I think Topuria's ground game is good enough to be able to kind of nullify the threat of Hall's jiu-jitsu game, that maybe he might not be able to get a submission on Ryan Hall, but he should be able to remain competitive and at least always end up on top, always get the better position. But I think the best way for him to win this fight is just keep it on the feet, land the better strikes, and then potentially knock out Ryan Hall. I'm going with Topuria by finish. I think that Topuria definitely can find the knockout shot here. After accumulating a bunch of damage through about like 7, 8, 9 minutes of the fight, I think it's really going to start to wear on on Ryan Hall, and that's where I think we'll see Topuria get the finish here. So I'm going to go Topuria by finish. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the odds here. Topuria by finish, or Topuria inside the distance, I should say, plus 120, not too bad. Topuria by KO, plus 185, not too bad either. But even Topuria minus 225 money line, I don't hate it. I like it. I think he's a good spot. I think he gets it done, and I'm going Topuria by KO. All right, let's see. You guys are killing it in the chat right now. Shout out to the 100+ people that we have in the chat. If you haven't already, please do hit that like. That's a great way to help your boy out. Dean Mooney's saying, have you ever cut your hair? I have never cut my hair, just the beard. About better ones, Hall by sub. That's probably his best way to win this fight. Wayo saying Topuria by murder. James C. Hall has nasty spinning heel kicks. Yeah, he's just so loose and free on the feet. Jets Booty 69 saying Hall is just an adult Chase Super, and I do agree. Great Cornholio. God, I love that name. And obviously Beavis and Butthead Topuria KO. I like it. MMA hedge funds off a matchup for Hall. The question is, do you trust Topuria to fight smart? I think even if he goes into talking, goes into the game plan that he's been talking about in his interviews, saying, I don't mind grappling with Hall. I think he'll be fine. He's a pretty damn good black belt himself. Can't say 9 saying Ryan Hall could have added to his game. He's been gone for a while. Might come back like T City. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd be surprised if he does. Robert Chell is saying Topuria by molestation. Urso saying Kenny Florian has been working with Ryan Hall. He also said he's going to be the lead corner of this fight. I'm very interested to see what the game plan is. Floyd has been working with him for a while, though. Like, he's helped him out with past fights as well. So I don't think that we'll see anything too different here. African's got to run. Appreciate you stopping by. I'm sure you'll enjoy the rest of it later. You cannot get a hair reveal, Cody. Jesus. Urso, Hall doesn't have the fast jab or low kick. His strikes are kind of telegraphing away, but makes up for it in the ground game. Yeah. Again, he throws like a guy that doesn't care about being taken down. That's it. Big J360 stopping by. What's going on? Draco Yamazaki saying Goldilocks of the night. But better so, no late submission for Hall. I don't think he'll pull it off. I don't think he'll pull it off. Again, I think Topuria is still young in his MMA career. Like I said, 24 years old, 10-0 in MMA. Surprisingly has more MMA experience than Ryan Hall ever so slightly, but he hasn't really been to a decision often, right? He's only been to a decision once against Yusuf Zalal. He did also take that fight on short notice, if people remember, when he got signed to the UFC. So we'll see how it goes. Plague Runner, do you have a running record of your lock of the night picks? Yes, I do have it in my Twitter bio as well as my Instagram bio. 146 and 85, and that's since I believe a long time ago. I'm trying to remember the last time. I'm sorry, the first one I ever tracked. All my bets can actually even be seen. All the bets I've ever made can be seen on my Bet MMA tips, which you guys can see. The link is in my description. But yeah, the first ever lock of the night play I made officially tracked and all was May of 2017. So over 4 years ago now. I'm 4 years deep into this lock of the night game. And I am 146 and 80 something in terms of lock of the night picks. 146 and 85 on lock of the night picks. My first ever one was Misha Serkinov to beat Volkan Oezdemir, and I started off with an L, so that was great. All right. Kung Dao Chicken Islam Makja parlay with the bets this week. I'd do that. Hall also very light for his division. Could possibly make bantamweight. Yeah, he probably could. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Michel Pereira going up against Nico Price, minus 155 on Pereira, plus 135 on Price. See, this could be like one of those, like the Chaos Williams against Michel Pereira or the Chaos Williams against Matthew Summelsberger, where people are just expecting it to end inside the distance, but you see like a disciplined approach from one of the guys that allows the fight to get a little bit more extended. And it seems like we're getting a mature Michel Pereira over his last couple of fights, and he should be able to use that kind of game plan here against Nico Price and kind of just dance on the outside, mix in a couple of takedowns here and there, and kind of just outwork and outpace Nico Price. Nico Price, we know, comeback king every now and then, is able to like find himself in these bad positions and then get these big weird knockouts. The one, the up kick against James Vick and the hammer fist off of his back against Randy Brown. he has that power. He has devastating power. That is without a doubt. So he can absolutely clip Michel Pereira on something if Pereira is a little bit too wacky and wild and doesn't have his defenses up and, gets clipped by Price. Price could absolutely put his lights out. But I do think that Pereira, with his movement, with his volume, with his unorthodox nature, should be able to land the better strikes here on Price over 15 minutes and take this fight via decision. Mix in a couple takedowns, just try to grind out Price. I think if Pereira really, works on his discipline, continues to work on that cardio, works on, being effective with his chaotic style, like controlled chaos, if he can continuously bring that to the table, he should be able to beat most of his opponents. And I'm expecting him to do the same thing here against Niko Price. As long as he doesn't get knocked out, I think he has a really good shot of winning this fight by decision. And that's kind of the way that I'm leaning for this fight. I really like him in the spot, to be honest. I'm a big Niko Price fan. But I think that he's going to give Niko Price a lot of headaches here. And Price more of a one and doneer with his combination or with his strikes, which I think is ultimately going to be his downfall in terms of not being able to keep up with the pace that Pereira is going to be able to put on him. Not to mention the effectiveness of his striking and his movement, I think will cause Price a ton of issues here. So I'm going Michel Pereira minus 155 by decision. Kung Dao Chicken, early take on Gon Lewis. Ask me that at the end of the stream. I'd be happy to answer that for you, brother. I just want to get through these breakdowns as quickly as possible. MMA Kappa, I can see Niko with a late finish after losing most of the fight. Just have that feeling. Michel a lot faster, but Niko is long and awkward with his angles. Exactly. Niko's probably one of the weirdest built fighters in the UFC. Like has one of the craziest upper bodies and wingspans and shit. So yeah, he could definitely clip Pereira with something. And again, it's his power. His power is absolutely insane. It could definitely, put Pereira's lights out for sure. Or so Pereira could possibly manhandle these welterweights. Remember him finding open weight at some point. Yeah, he's a big, big dude. How he makes the weight, beyond me. Potential fight of the night. I like it. PSSA, Niko Price is shaped like a Dorito. Oh, that is absolutely in running for a comment of the stream, but that's facts. That is absolute facts. Niko Price is built like a Dorito. If any one of my followers is, Photoshop privy or whatever the fuck privy with memes and shit, put Niko Price's head on a Dorito chip and tweet that shit to me. All right. Let's move this train along. I believe this is the prelim headliner, and we got the natural born killer, Carlos Condit, plus 160, going up against Max Payne Griffin, minus 180. And I really like some Max Griffin here. I'm seeing a lot of people on the Carlos Condit train, and I kind of understand their approach here, but I think that Max Griffin is going to be successful enough in terms of landing takedowns, landing more damage than Matt Brown was able to kind of muster up in that first round when he had a ton of success on top of Condit. But I believe all the judges, or at least two of the judges, scored that first round for Condit. And I kind of get it. He was landing some decent damage from off bottom, but Matt Brown, obviously 40 years old, they're not the greatest cardio either. So it really did start to fall for him as the fight went on longer, which, let's not forget, Matt Brown was having some success in that third round in terms of getting takedowns, staying on top of Condit. That's still how bad Carlos Condit's takedown defense. Not to mention, that's the reason Carlos Condit ended up retiring. The guy couldn't do anything in terms of stopping takedowns or getting anything going off of his back. And yeah, his jiu-jitsu off of his back is not too bad, but last time he had a submission victory, 2008 in WEC against Carlo Prater. Didn't even get into the UFC. Hasn't even had a submission inside the UFC. So he's had some near moments, but he's never really been able to finish it. Guys have been able to get out. And I think Max Griffin, he might find himself in a submission or two, but I do think he'll be able to get out. I think his cardio is good enough to keep up with Condit, and I think his cardio is good enough to go out there and give us the takedowns that are needed to grind out Carlos Condit in this fight. Condit in his last two fights has had two great matchups. Well, sorry, I lied. One solid matchup in terms of Matt Brown having the better cardio and obviously the better striking and better output. But the Court McGee fight, that should have been a great fight for Court McGee to go out there and land takedowns time and time again and grind out Condit just as Court McGee has done in past fights. Condit goes out, or Court McGee goes out there and shoots 0 takedowns. 0 takedowns. Doesn't even throw one. Doesn't even shoot for 1 takedown. And luckily for me, I didn't bet on Court McGee that night. But I'm sure if anybody had a ticket on Court McGee that night, they were absolutely frazzled. They must have been super frustrated that night, because that is the best way to beat Carlos Condit. And I trust Max Griffin to go out there, who, you know, seems to be a quick starter, likes to go out there, put the pressure on his opponents immediately, has some decent striking, good kickboxing background, and he can go out there and land takedowns when he needs to. And I think he'll be able to do that here against Carlos Condit. And I do trust him enough in his cardio that he should be able to win at least 2 rounds here to get that judge's decision. Both guys super durable. So if you want to take the over here, either, I wouldn't be mad at that. But at the way that I'm thinking, I'm going Griffin by decision. The line might seem a little bit wide to some people, which is why I understand, excuse me, why some people might be taking Carlos Condit in the spot. But I like Griffin here. You know, even though Mike Perry, best win of his career, he's had a lot of close fights that probably could have gone his way. I thought he won the Alex Cowboy Oliveira fight, to be honest. The fact that 2 judges scored round 3 for Max Griffin but didn't give him round 1 is absolute blasphemy to me. So I thought he won the Oliveira fights. But again, that if you bet on Griffin that night, you ripped up your ticket. And that's ultimately what matters at the end of the night. But here, he's going to land takedowns against Condit. He's going to get that top control. And I think he grinds out a decision victory here. So I'm going Max Griffin. A lot of people I respect definitely on the Condit side here. But I think they're going to start to be like, fuck, I totally forgot that this guy can't stop takedowns. And Max Griffin is going to exploit him for that. So I like Griffin here. Durable. He'll probably lose striking exchanges at times, but Griffin does have some good pressure, good power that could definitely stifle, whatever Condit wants to throw. Condit does have a sneaky combination. Obviously, ends them in head kicks at times, and that is something that Griffin has gotten caught by in the past. But I don't think he was expecting to deal with a head kick from Alex Morono in one of his fights, which is why he got rocked in that fight. Here against Condit, I'm sure he'll be a little bit more aware. But the best way to fight Condit, put him on his back foot. So his kicking or his head kicking game isn't as effective, especially off of his back foot. So yeah, I like Griffin. Pressure, takedowns, control. Give me Griffin all day here. My guy Zach A saying a natural born killer all day. Griffin by decision. Max is way more stronger and physical. I agree. Can't go against the resurgence of Carlos Condit. I wouldn't call it a resurgence yet. A win over Max Griffin here, I'd call it a resurgence. But beating 40-year-old Matt Brown, beating 0 takedown Court McGee, I'm not calling it a resurgence yet. MD, Carlos Condit is a parlay buster. Stay away, lads. Though I got Griffin winning as he lands the bigger shots. Carlos' output scares me a lot. It's going to be tough when his output is coming off of his back, and Max Griffin's doing enough to kind of nullify the volume coming off of his back. About better saying value. Uncle Weezy, Condit has only successfully defended 30 of 86 takedown attempts against him in the UFC, 35%. That's terrible. I love it. Zach A. Griffin didn't out-wrestle Millender. True, he did land a takedown in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure why he didn't attack it as much later in that fight, but here against Condit, he's got to know that this is his best way to win the fight. Like, without a doubt, this is his best way to win the fight. Land takedowns, get control, pressure. That's what Max Griffin looks to be doing over his last couple fights, and that's what I'm going to be trusting him to do moving forward here against Kanan Song. So I just want to check one thing in regards to that Curtis Millender fight. Yeah, Max Griffin, 1 of 2 on takedowns. He had 3 minutes of control time in that first round when he landed that takedown, and then he went 0 of 1 on takedowns against Millender in that third round. Still got a minute of control time, but not sure why he didn't attack him more in that fight. My guy Jonas Schiffman in the chat. Shout out to my guy Jay Schiffy. McGee Condit gives me PTSD every day or every time. Yeah, I get you. Condit subbed Ellenberger this year. Not an MMA fight, my brother. Great Cornelio lockdown. Condit is a mythical fighter. Is a new mythical fighter. Man is looking like he's on that good John Jones stuff recently with this resurgence. Again, let's pause the talks on the resurgence. Let's just, if he gets this win, I'll call it a resurgence. This fight feels like Millender versus Griffin back in 2018. Can we get a recap of all your picks thus far? Yeah, sure. I am on or again, these aren't bets. These are just picks. I'm picking Yaozong to win by decision. I'm picking Zhumagulov to win by decision, but I think that Rivera has some good value there. Taking Tavares by decision, taking I by decision, taking Giles by decision, taking Topuria by KO, and taking Pereira by decision. And then here with Griffin, I'm taking him to win by decision. Do Cody laying chalk at minus 188 goes the distance. Not a bad idea. I think this fight goes to decision. Vegeta saying lots of oldies are betting Condit by decision. It's the emotion. It's sometimes, right? Again, I'm not banging on anybody taking the value on Condit. If they see it's closer to a 50-50 fight, praise to them. It's all to them. Condit isn't strong anymore. I think Mac's going to be too strong. I agree. Kung Dao Chicken, do you trust Griffin's fight IQ? Dude gets caught up in striking exchanges. Dos Santos, Morono, Millender. Condit's takedown defense is such a glaring hole that even Matt Brown, a guy that likes to swing leather and likes to find a kind of fuck up his opponents with the striking, knew to try to take Condit down to have his best success. If Griffin doesn't see that, I'd be pissed. But gotta believe that he's going to go out there and seek takedowns and try to control this fight. How do you feel about betting both fighters by decision? I usually just like taking a side or just take the over. You know, I mean, I know it's a little chalky, but the over seems a little bit safer. I think this fight, no matter what, is going to go to a decision. MMA Hedge Fund saying Nick Diaz 125. Never forget. I love it. About Better saying he's on Griffin. Zach A. He's going to think he's a hitter after the Kanang Song fight. Try to KO Carlos. I hope he's smarter than that. MMA Kappa's hella units on Maxi this weekend. Love his attitude and demeanor in interviews leading up. Ready for that statement performance. Love it. Zach A saying I'm positive. I hope you're not. He said KO is coming on Michael Johnson podcast. God damn. Go for the takedown. Maybe he'll try to go for it early, and if it doesn't come to fruition, you'll go for the takedowns. He has some power for sure. While Alcabana, Griffin gets Condit against the cage, he'll be able to do what he wants with him. I agree. I have a weird feeling the natural born killer is showing up this weekend instead of old man Condit. We'll see. A lot of questions will be answered about this resurgence of Mr. Carlos Condit. All right, that brings us to our main card, and I'd always want to take this time to remind you guys, please do hit that like if you haven't already. That's the best way to show your boys some support. And yeah, that's really about it. Let's get to the main card, fellas. First fight up, we got Sean O'Malley against Chris Moutinho. Not going to spend too much time on this. We all know what the play is here. O'Malley KO. I'm taking probably O'Malley by first round. I believe it's like plus 110-ish, plus 120. I think there's some decent value there in terms of him getting the finish relatively quickly here. Moutinho does not seem like he can take a shot. I'm going to be significantly outsized here by the much taller O'Malley. I believe a 4-inch height advantage for O'Malley, not to mention thickness alone. These guys are going to look like they're in two completely different weight classes. I think O'Malley goes out there and just puts the hurting on Moutinho from the get-go. Saying this to a couple other people, I just wish O'Malley didn't even take this fight. I wish he just sat on the shelf instead and waited for a better fight. Why waste those fight miles? You know what I mean? He'll probably take zero damage in this fight. I'm hoping that he gets a quick knockout and they turn him around quickly, bring him back within a month or two to fight a legitimate opponent. But he's probably going to get a crazy knockout here, probably going to collect another crazy performance of the night bonus, and probably sit on the sidelines for a little bit longer. I also feel that he was playing 4D chess against everybody when he called out Ricky Simón and knew for a fucking fact that Ricky Simón was not going to make 135. There's no way a thick-set dude like Ricky Simón, probably not even in camp, was going to take a fight on super short notice and cut down to 135 pounds, a cut that looks very hard for this man too. So I think O'Malley was just honey dicking all of us, saying, let's go fucking Ricky Simon or Simone, whatever the fuck he called him, because he knew he wasn't going to make the weight. But yeah, this fight, Moutinho, I was trying to look to see if there's even a glimmer of hope for this guy. I just don't see it. Striking, in his fight against Andrew Salas last time around, commentators are saying, oh, it looks like he's putting on a clinic. He looks great. His boxing looks really good. That's against a guy that was 6-5 at the time, now 6-6. That was against the guy who gassed halfway through that first round. And that was a guy that just, was slow as fuck. Moutinho was able to style on him for sure. I can't even imagine what Sean O'Malley would have done to his same opponent there. But it might actually look like what he's going to fight when he fights Moutinho here. So, yeah, I just don't see a win condition here at all for Moutinho, to be honest. I like O'Malley here. I think he gets it done relatively quickly, probably first round KO. Yeah, I think O'Malley rolls here. I think he's slowly distancing himself from those, brittle leg jokes and all that type of stuff. The more he continues to distance himself from that, the more people will trust him, the more likely he'll be even a heavier and heavier favorite as he continues to progress through his career. But obviously it depends on his opposition as well too. But when he's fighting newcomers like this, like guys that don't even deserve to be inside the UFC, like Chris Moutinho, he's already on a 2-fight winning streak, has losses to Johnny Cupcake Campbell, who was a plus 500 underdog in his Bellator fight a couple weeks ago. He did pull off the upset, gets the win, but there's a reason the guy was a plus 500 underdog going into that fight. And then the fight before that, loses to Tony Gravely. We all know Gravely has a lot of potential, really good fighter. But then for Moutinho to go out there, get lit up, almost finish in the first round of his fight after the Johnny Campbell fight, he comes back, finishes the guy in the second round. Good for him. But then in the next fight, fights a guy that's 6-5, doesn't even look like a solid opponent. Again, it's tough for me to find any way Moutinho wins this fight. I'm going O'Malley, and I'm getting O'Malley done quick here. Fernando Cunha saying, I DM'd Griffin on IG telling him to take down Condit. He said he got me. I love it. Cody Eberl is saying Sean's feather dusting this goth loser. Yeah, I agree. O'Malley has a lot to lose in this fight. If he loses, even if a fluke, he's done in the UFC. I don't think he's done in the UFC, but people will always be able to say it was a fluke thing. So Alexei Shetstian is saying they love to put him on the McGregor card, a lot of shine. I agree. Draco is saying Conduit is the lock. Adam K. O'Malley wants the money, also gets one fight off that contract. Yep. Good point. Urso got to take a stab at Moutinho just for fun. I take Moutinho inside the distance to kind of, exploit as much money as I could from Moutinho if he wins, because there's no way he's winning the decision here. Vegeta just scanned O'Malley's power level this week, and we're about to see another walk-off KO. I love it. Love me some Dragon Ball Z shit too. I'm gonna be running through Dragon Ball Z again just for nostalgia's sake in the next couple months. God, I miss it. Derek, part of me really wants O'Malley to have some real competition soon. I don't think he's top 10 material yet. I disagree. I think he's top 10, but he just needs to prove it. Prove it to us. I think he has the chops. Just prove it. MMA Kappa O'Malley rounds 1 and 2 to boost those odds a bit. I would say round 1 KO, but Sean could play with him. Good point. O'Malley by decision. I'd be surprised if he wins by decision. Hayden Shinderman, O'Malley by sub plus 1,000. I've seen a couple of those takes out there, but I don't really understand them. I think O'Malley's just going to dust him up on the feet. I'd be surprised if he goes for any subs. James C. O'Malley is too fragile to be a serious contender, so he's going to be the UFC's MVP. Ooh, good comparison. Or so coaches be like, you know why UFC signed you? Yep. Moutinho round 3, D-Gen, baby. Good luck, my brother. Or so Moutinho got to go for broke. Exactly. He's got a Justin James, Frank Camacho this shit. He knew he was brought in to just, be a last-minute replacement. He knew he was brought in to just kind of be a highlight reel. Fucking go for broke, dude. Kung Dao Chicken, I would take any decent wrestler in the top 15 against O'Malley. Dude has only fought strikers. I agree. I would have taken, if Ricky Simone actually took that fight, I would have bet Ricky Simone, and it looked like he was an underdog too. Great cornhole. It all comes down to if O'Malley's foot is balloon or not. I hope not. MMA Kappa, Vegeta Kakarot sent Chris Moutinho to be sacrificed for O'Malley and our wallets. All this Dragon Ball Z talk makes me want to go watch some Dragon Ball Z. All right, let's move on to the next fight. Rene Aldana going up against Yana Kunitskaya, minus 115 on Aldana, minus 105 on Kunitskaya. There are some spots where you can still get some decent plus money on Kunitskaya as well if you look for it. Excuse me. Yeah, prime striker versus grappler matchup, and I'm going to be going with the grappler here, Yana Kunitskaya, in terms of being able to land takedowns, control Aldana, pass guard. Would be kind of surprised if Kunitskaya actually pulls off a submission here, but I do trust her in terms of being able to just get control time, nullify the striking advantage that Aldana has by just closing the distance and dragging this fight to the ground. And Kunitskaya isn't horrible on the feet. I think she's serviceable enough to at least deal with what Aldana is going to bring to the table. But then I do think that Kunitskaya will drag this fight to the ground and continuously just get her game going. I'm taking Kunitskaya by decision. Again, no real conviction in terms of breaking down this fight even further than that. It's pretty as simple as that. Aldana either gets a striking off and wins the decision, or potentially knocks out Kunitskaya, or Kunitskaya just continues to get the takedown and controls Aldana over 50 minutes. And I'm going with the latter here instead. I will say this about Aldana. A lot of people were very high on her, especially going into that Holly Holm fight, her first ever main event in the UFC. I saw a lot of people on her. I can't recall if I actually bet Holly Holm, but I know I definitely predicted her to win. And I was getting shit for it all week. People are like, hey, Holly Holm's going to go out there and she's going to get knocked the fuck out by Irene Aldana, who just knocked out Ketlin Vieira in her last fight. Why would you take Holly Holm? That's why I took Holly Holm. Takedowns, veterancy, experience, good striking as well. I don't think Holly Holm is as shot as most people are making her out to be, which is why she was able to get the veteran W that night against Irene Aldana. I'm expecting the same thing here from Kunitskaya. I'm expecting her to take her down time and time again. I'd be very surprised if Aldana has a lot of success in terms of stopping the takedowns and kind of nullifying that approach from her. But when you're giving up 5 takedowns to striker Holly Holm, 5 of 14 takedowns, and not to mention 5 minutes of control time, it's not a good look. I believe her takedown defense is at 84%. But again, when you're going up against, Vanessa Mello and fucking Betch Correa, Lucy Pudlova, Talita Bernardo, takedowns are going to be a lot easier for Kunitskaya, is what I'm trying to say. She's 53% with her takedown accuracy. She's landing 1.62 takedowns per 15 minutes, I believe. None in her last fight against Ketlin Vieira, but she was landing a ton of damage, especially in positions where she was not the one controlling. Because if you guys actually look at the control time in that fight, 8.5 minutes of control time for Ketlin Vieira, but she only lands 35 strikes. Whereas Yana Kunitskaya lands 215 strikes and has 5 minutes of control time there. So even off of her back and even in compromising positions, she was the one outstriking Ketlin Vieira, who one had a very bad weight cut. Looked very obvious that she had a very bad weight cut, and it was definitely affecting her cardio going into that fight. But yeah, Kunitskaya should land takedowns here, should be able to grind this fight out. I wouldn't be surprised if it looks similar to the Lena Landsberg fight, where she was able to land 5 takedowns over 15 minutes and get close to 10 minutes of control time there. That's what I'm expecting this weekend from Kunitskaya as well. Wouldn't mind her at plus money either. James C. Kunitskaya might just smash her up against the cage for 3 rounds. That fight against Stoliarenko was hilarious, because we know Stoliarenko wants to drag the fight to the ground and kind of pull off a submission or something, but just couldn't do it. Kunitskaya just was holding her up, literally double underhooks, holding her up against the cage and trying to get just dirty clinch box and clinch knee or whatever the fuck she was trying to do. She was really fucking her up there. But yeah, that was hilarious. Shout out to my guy Nicholas West for the $20 donation. Let's fucking go, brother. Break the bookies. Again, I greatly I truly respect and love and I'm super thankful and appreciative of everybody that drops a donation. Again, it's never mandatory. I never beg for it or plead for it. The only time I'll ever do that, again, I'll never go to the beg and plead part of it, but the only time where I'll encourage super chat donations is during the Propping You Up show. Because the Propping You Up show is just me and Cody. And obviously me and Cody used to get paid from odds.com to do that show for them. So, it was easy to carve out an hour and a half, 2 hours a week for you guys on a Thursday night to do the show for you guys. But now we're kind of just doing it for free, right? Like I chip whatever donations that me and Cody get on Propping You Up, we chop that down in the middle and we send it both ways. So if you guys ever are considering super chat donations, the only time I'll ever encourage it is Propping You Up. So if you guys are ever tuning into Propping You Up, that's the best way that you guys can show your love and appreciation. And I greatly appreciate that. But even on these solo shows, I definitely greatly appreciate it as well. All right, let's move on. Ursula, she's from ATT. Coach is going to have her take down a game at her best. Are they, though? Like, that's what Ariane Lipsky did, right? She changed camps. She could have stopped the takedowns. Great Cornholio, Kunitskaya by decision by Wallenstall or Aldana pieces right from the beginning and finishes. And finish her in the second or third. Yeah, pretty much how the fight would go, but I think it's going to be Kunitskaya actually landing takedowns, though. I think that Wallenstall was just a Stoliarenko fight. I think she'll be looking for takedowns here against Aldana. TJ Kill. Is veterancy a word? It should be. You guys know exactly what I mean by veterancy, right? My guy, MMA Locker Room in the chat. What's going on, my brother? Vegeta, I feel like Kunitskaya is about to put some heavy pressure on Aldana this weekend. Got her by decision, but don't be surprised if Aldana somehow knocks her out. For sure, I could see that. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. We got Greg Hardy going up against Tai Tuivasa, another highly debated fight throughout this fight week. Minus 130 on Tuivasa and plus 110 on, what is his nickname? The Mad Prince? Whatever the fuck is no Prince of War? Whatever the hell his name is. Interesting takes that I'm seeing on both sides, and I kind of agree with both sides here. But the side that I'm ultimately going to be on is Tuivasa minus 130. Not to mention Tuivasa round 2 or round 3 finish. And I've seen some takes out there that Tuivasa, probably has worse cardio than Hardy. But the difference here, though, is I think Hardy's going to struggle in terms of getting effective damage off and doing that stick and move game. Like, this isn't Ben Sassoli. Even though they're similarly built and fight kind of similar, I think that Tuivasa is going to put a little bit more hurting on Hardy than Ben Sassoli was able to. I think Tuivasa will land leg kicks of his own, just as Hardy will land his own leg kicks. I think Tuivasa will land combinations whenever Hardy starts to close the distance. And I think that Tuivasa has the chops to go out there and push him up against the cage and really wear on Greg Hardy and really start to slow him down, which is where I think he'll really start to pull away with this fight. I think Hardy does have a bad cardio problem, just as we saw in his fight against Topuria. And yeah, he went balls to the wall trying to finish Topuria in that first round, and obviously didn't pay off for him, which is why he gassed out and obviously got stopped in that second round. But I think he's going to have a hard time really getting that stick and move game off here against Tuivasa. I think that Tuivasa will push the pressure onto him. I think he will have success in terms of corralling him up against the cage. I think he is strong enough to kind of hold Hardy there at times. And I think that Hardy gas tank is really going to start to come into play here. I think that Tuivasa will have a ton of success in terms of landing the bigger damage and then eventually knocking him out in the second or third round here. So I got Tuivasa minus 130, KO, round 2, round 3, I think is live here. So I'm going with Tuivasa in the spot. Alexei Sestian is saying Brazilian dude tapping that Kunitskaya booty. That's a real W here. Shout out to Thiago Santos. I believe they're married, right? Or at least engaged. Kung Dao Chicken, Hardy's nickname, beater of women. Kung Dao Chicken, live bet Tuivasa after round 1. Not a bad approach. Greg the Inhaler Hardy. I love it. Kappa NZ got a parlay of this fight not go the distance, plus main event 10 by KO. This will be a banger. Been some banter back and forth about no takedowns, just straight scrap. I'd like that. My guy Blackie Chan, been a long time since I've seen you in the chat, brother, with a house on tie. For the long time listeners and viewers of my live streams, you guys know what Blackie Chan is all about. How many houses and condos you got, brother? Ethan Cruz, Tuivasa should be at least minus 170. I don't disagree with that. Vegeta is saying, I was about to call him Vegeta. Tuivasa wins all 3 rounds, might even knock him out. Yeah, I think he knocks him out. Genie in the chat, I agree 110%. I like it. Urso Moambeki, Hardy had a good first round against Topuria. Must have worked on his cardio. Maybe. Again, I think once he starts dealing with resistance, that's when he starts to falter. And I think Tuivasa will give him that resistance that he's not ready for. TJ Kill, I agree. Hardy checks out before Tuivasa. Everything on tie, live betting after the first. Not a bad approach. All right. Is that co-main event time? It is co-main event time. We got Wonderboy Thompson minus 155 going up against Gilbert Burns plus 135. Initially saw a lot of takes on Wonderboy Thompson. Now I'm seeing some people come out of the woodwork on the Gilbert Burns side of things, but I am on that Wonderboy Thompson side here. I think this is a spot for him to go out there and just absolutely stall on Gilbert Burns. Now, Gilbert Burns, I'm gonna get a little bit nitpicky. I mean, you can do the same thing with fucking Wonderboy Thompson, of course, but I do think that Gilbert Burns, my guy Notorious Picks actually tweeted it out recently. Let me just pull his tweet out, because I think that he laid it out pretty pretty well. Here we go. Gilbert Burns is not a top 5 welterweight. I slightly disagree with that. He was extremely fortunate on the way to the title, with being in the right place at the right time. Next Saturday will prove that. So what I mean by that, I agree with the latter half of that. If you guys remember, he used to be a lightweight. He used to fight at lightweight. His last lightweight fight against Mike Davis, rear naked choke, finished him in the second round. That was April of 2019. Then he takes a short notice fight up a division against Alexei Kuchenko, wins that fight by decision. It's another fight at welterweight a month later, just under 2 months later, against Gardner Nelson, wins that fight. Then he's like, okay, maybe I'm better off at 170. And those were good wins for him, right? But in those wins, I felt like he was slowing down later in the fights. And I think that he was getting away with, winning obviously the first 2 rounds. Excuse me. But I thought he had a bit of a cardio issue. He was starting to slow down. Power on his shots was starting to deplete. Just didn't look the greatest. What's his next fight? Damian Maia. Great stylistic matchup for him. Great jiu-jitsu player. Obviously, Damian Maia got his back. He was able to, get out of that, get back to the feet, and then land a big bomb and knock out Damian Maia. Next fight, Tyron Woodley. This is where a lot of people are kind of planting their flag and saying, look at that fight. That showcases Gilbert Burns as a top 5 fighter. That's why, he's going to beat Kamaru Usman, or that's why he's going to be a great fighter. We know what Tyron Woodley in 2020 brought to the table. You push him up against the cage, you pressure him, you get out of the way of his telegraphed overhands, which he always throws, and then you put the pace, you put the pressure, you could land a couple of takedowns on him. You could put the hurting on him. That's exactly what Gilbert Burns did that night. Great performance from him. Beat him pillar to post from minute 1 to minute 25. He looked great in that fight, but he dealt with zero resistance in that fight. That's why his cardio looked great from minute 1 to minute 25. That's why he was able to go out there and just beat Tyron Woodley with takedowns, big shots on the feet, whatever the fuck it was. He was able to murk him. And I took Gilbert Burns that night. Gilbert Burns was the underdog that night. How the fuck was Gilbert Burns the underdog that night? Now people were understanding what Tyron Woodley brought to the table and why I was able to cash on against him so many times during that stretch. Kamaru Usman cashed against him. Colby Covington, heavy chalk, still cashed against him. Not to mention get that round 5 finish. Call it luck, whatever. Still cashed that plus 2,200 ticket. And then Gilbert Burns plus 150, cashed that ticket as well. Tyron Woodley brings nothing to the table and should not have been the fight that deserved or gave Burns the shot to fight for the title. And then he had decent success early in that first round against Kamaru Usman. I will say this. I tweeted it out a couple months ago, and then even my guy AJ, he tweeted it out too. Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Even AJ tweeted out saying Gilbert Burns did not hurt Kamaru Usman as badly as the commentators made it seem in that first round, and I agree with that. He landed a big shot. Don't get me wrong; it kind of off-balanced Kamaru Usman, but at no point was Kamaru Usman close to getting finished there. Kamaru Usman was disciplined. He went back to his, his basics, and he stayed in that fight, showed the heart of a champion, came back in the second and third round, and then obviously finished Gilbert Burns in that third. Now here against Wonderboy Thompson, completely different stylistic matchup than we've ever seen Gilbert Burns go up against. And that's pretty much the case for anybody that ever fights Wonderboy Thompson. But Wonderboy Thompson, we know how he fights. Super calculated on the feet. Blitz attacks a lot, attacks from all these weird angles that I don't think that Gilbert Burns is going to be ready for. And then his movement allows him to just traverse the cage, and really set up traps for his opponents where he's able to really, land some big shots and really land some big damage on him. The Vicente Luque fight is a similar fight to what we might be getting this weekend, with the potential of Gilbert Burns obviously shooting for takedowns and trying to drag this fight to the ground. And I also do think that Gilbert Burns has a little bit more pop on his shots than what Luque brings to the table. But we saw what Wonderboy Thompson was able to do in that fight. Luque, a lot of people thought in that fight that his best way to win the fight was be effective with the leg kicks. He was landing leg kicks. But Wonderboy Thompson is so good at fighting from both stances that it didn't really affect him, because if one of his legs was beat up, he was able to switch to the other and be just as effective. And then he was able to go out there and dish the damage on Vicente Luque, just landing, knockdown after knockdown and just absolutely lighting up Vicente Luque that night. Jeff Neal fight, another fight that apparently Wonderboy Thompson was going to lose. That was a pick'em fight. And Jeff Neal had no answers for him. Wonderboy Thompson just does that to guys. The Anthony Pettis fight, I'm calling that a fluke. That Superman punch was a fluke. Darren Till fight, easy easy argument that he deserved to win that fight. I highly doubt this fight plays out as closely as the Darren Till fight. And then the Tyron Woodley fights, I'm just throwing those fights out. Those were such weird fights. And sure, you can take away, the takedowns that Woodley was able to land in that fight, sure. But I don't think that Burns will be successful enough in terms of getting this fight down. I think Thompson should be able to get back to his feet relatively easily. And then I do think that the takedowns will become harder and harder for Burns. Gilbert Burns is no crazy wrestler. He just has really good jiu-jitsu. So I think he's going to struggle in terms of taking Thompson down. Not just taking him down, but corralling him to eventually try to take him to the ground. Like, there's so many times that Wonderboy Thompson is just up against the cage, but he knows what he's doing. Like, there's times where fighters think that they have him trapped up against the cage, then he lands a combination or something and just blitzes out to one side. They just don't know which way he's going to exit. And I think that Burns is going to have trouble with that. I even think that Gilbert Burns is going to start to slow down so much from whiffing at air that Thompson is going to eventually knock him out probably in the third round here. So I'm playing Thompson, love him in this spot, and I do like Thompson to finish this fight late too. So I like Thompson side of distance, Thompson by KO, Thompson in round 3. I like Thompson. Can you guys tell? All right, let's see what the chat is saying here. Ryan Grant, this fight is everything. Yeah, this is a fight that I'm most excited about on the card, easily. Ethan Cruz saying lock of the night. Could be. Kong Dao Chicken, not impressed with Burns' wins at 170 over the hill. Woodley, Maia, Gunnar Nelson, Kunchenko. I literally just broke that down, so you know exactly what I mean. Ryan Grant, big strength of schedule discrepancy between these two. Is it though? I think kind of. Other than those first two, wins at welterweight for Burns. And man, what a bust Gunnar Nelson really turned out to be, man. I had high hopes for that dude. I like Burns, about 100% right place at the right time. I agree. Wonderboy is still beating top tiers like Luque and Neal. Yep. Gilbert couldn't last 5 minutes against Hooker. How is he going to beat a Wonderboy? I like that. Wonderboy by KO plus 300. Miliki. I like that a lot. Cody Thompson is making Burns' face look like mashed potatoes. Yep. I think Wonderboy to win in round 3 at plus 1200 is cheeky. I like it. Mystic Sosa, did you trim your beard? I did. It's summer. I wanted to let the wind hit my neck a little bit more. But trust me, as soon as it starts to get cold again, that bitch about to be bushy again. Ursula Moambeki saying Dan Hooker all over again. See, I kind of agree. I will say this, though. Gilbert Burns has definitely gotten a lot better with the striking since the Dan Hooker fight, but I still think it's just a completely different game when you're fighting a guy like Wonderboy Thompson. And Gilbert Burns is about to find that out the hard way. Kung Dao Chicken, Gilbert got finished by jab. Wonderboy is going to get that KO. He's able to drop Luque with his crazy chin. I agree, but I think the reason Gilbert got dropped by a jab was he was starting to get exhausted. He was starting to wear it. He was starting to slow the fuck down. And that's exactly what's going to happen here against Wonderboy, I think. Wael Al-Gaban going with Burns because Thompson too old and he's been KO'd recently. I think that was one of those anomaly things, like with Thompson getting KO'd. He got KO'd 2.5 years ago. I think it's been long enough that we can say that his chin is fine. He ate some big shots from Luque. He ate some big shots from Jeff Neal. Still kept on chugging. Gilbert Burns arguably has more power than both of those guys, but I think his chin is fine. That Wonderboy KO's luck. I'm assuming that you meant the Pettis knockout, but yes, you're right. Gilbert gets discouraged easy when things don't go his way and tries forcing things. Hooker made him pay as well as Usman. Exactly. Great point. Great cornholio. Kung Dao Chicken Wonderboy is in his prime at 38. Could be, dude. Could be. Mystic Sosa cardio was horrendous. Fight goes to decision. It could, but I think that Wonder Boy finishes him. Tom Rock, do you think Thompson will knock out Burns in the third round? I do. I agree. Round 3 plus 1200. Alexander Ryan letting you guys know what it is. I agree. Plus 1800 and bet 365. I would absolutely take a shot on that. While you, Al Gaban, man, you guys got me shook. I might have to cash out before this fight. Yeah, I don't think Burns is going to win. That's what she said. I love you guys. Yeah, as soon as they drop the round 3 props on my bookies, I'm going to be hammering those things. All right. Main event time coming right up, but before I do that, normally this is the time that I like to drop the cast for the Ultimate Weigh-In show. I haven't confirmed it yet. I know I've been teasing it for the last little while. I have 2 people confirmed so far. The third one is the big guest that I'm hoping that I can secure and I can lock down for this big UFC 264 card. But I promise, as soon as I find or get that confirmation, get that 100% green light ready to go, I will let you guys know. I will announce it on Twitter. I'll announce it on Instagram. And then obviously I will drop it on one of my upcoming streams to let you guys know who it is or who the 3 guys are. But I promise you guys are going to enjoy it. Great guest. I cannot wait. Just waiting for that last one to be confirmed. Average Joe, the only way Burns can win this is if he can take Wonder Boy down, but I don't know if his offensive wrestling is good enough to win 2 rounds. I agree. John Anik, the special guest. He can't do predictions. Justin Villegas, get Lamartin SPR. No idea who that is. Buff on the BF the 30 grasses. Dana White. Oh, shit myself. Guys. It's got to be somebody that can make predictions. We know which personalities and people out there can make predictions. So there you go. All right. Main event time. We're approaching the 2-hour mark here. We got minus 130 on Dustin Poirier and plus 110 on Conor McGregor. Obviously, third fight. We all know how the first 2 went. McGregor knocks him out in the first fight, and then Poirier goes out there and knocks him out in the second fight. Poirier obviously had a ton of success with his calf kicks, with his leg kicks, absolutely butchering McGregor. McGregor even going to the extent of getting crutches at the end after the fight was done. But good work from Poirier to nullify the power of McGregor by taking out his base and then letting his hands go after that. And then obviously beautiful finishing combination to really put it on McGregor, knowing that he was hurt and then putting him down. Tough fight to call, man. Personally, I'm going to have $0 invested in this fight other than, the under 3.5, under 4.5, and fight doesn't go to decision. I might just parlay the fight doesn't go to decision. I completely understand that it's at chalky odds right now, as it should be, as I'd be very surprised if this fight actually goes the full, 25 minutes. It's at minus 280 on a couple spots, minus 350 and minus 400 on a couple spots. So it's chalky, but I think it's worth it. I think we'll see a finish either way here. And I think that the longer that this fight goes, the more it will favor Dustin Poirier. I'm going to ultimately be on the Poirier side here. I did pick McGregor to win last time, as I didn't think that Poirier was going to be able to eat the shots of McGregor, but Poirier's durability and cardio and just his overall skills have seemed to really elevate since going up to 155 pounds. Obviously, he got to, somewhat the pinnacle of the division by getting that interim strap after beating Justin Gaethje. No, who did he beat? Max Holloway, sorry. After he beat Max Holloway. But, he can take a punch now. We've definitely seen him hurt Rock, but he can definitely come back from that. And he was able to eat some big shots from McGregor and still keep chugging forward. I'm expecting him to do the same thing here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Poirier go out there and try to mix some takedowns, try to get some grappling going, and try to test that jiu-jitsu of McGregor. But I truly think it's ultimately going to come down to McGregor's cardio. Like if McGregor goes out there and knocks him on the first 2 rounds, I get it. That's probably the best way to play McGregor here is take McGregor KO or McGregor round 1, McGregor round 2. But after that, I think in round 3 is where Poirier is going to start to take over. I think Poirier has the confidence now that he was able to eat some of those McGregor shots and keep chugging forward. I think he's going to take that confidence into this fight and really start to put it on McGregor himself and then eventually finish him late in this fight. Probably in the 3rd round, I'm going to say. Maybe early 4th round. But I do like Poirier here. Am I going to bet it, though? No. I can't. Somebody earlier on in the stream said, it doesn't get much easier than, seeing a guy beat somebody 5 months ago and not betting him again to win this fight. I disagree. This is MMA. Anything can happen. And McGregor, we'd be nuts to not believe that he's going to come in with a different game plan and a different approach here. He is a very smart dude at the end of the day. I think he could put together a decent game plan to kind of nullify whatever Poirier is throwing at him. But I do think that ultimately Poirier will, I wouldn't be surprised if he still goes back to that calf kick every now and then. I'm sure he'll still throw it out there. It's still just as debilitating. Sure, you can maybe try to check it, or you can maybe try to change stances. Shout out to my guy AMG Warrior Bet, but like it's pretty common knowledge. The best counter to a calf kick is having or being just as proficient from orthodox as you are from southpaw. If you have your lead leg compromised in southpaw, switch the position, go to orthodox, and then get your damage going. But you got to be persistent with your damage and get your damage going right away. Otherwise, your other leg's going to get chewed up as well. So I like Poirier here. I think he'll get the finish a little bit later. Again, no real confidence in this spot. A close fight. Seems like the public money is coming on Poirier right now. I'd be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if McGregor ends up going off as the favorite come fight night, given his popularity and everybody placing their bets closer to the fight, or at least the more casual fans placing their bets closer to the fight. And especially at seeing Conor McGregor at dog odds, are probably going to be salivating to pull the trigger there. But I do like Poirier to win this fight, and I'm going to call it probably third or fourth round TKO or submission. I would just take Poirier inside the distance. I'm going to be stabbing a little bit of that Poirier round 3, round 4, round 5. And then obviously that fight doesn't go to decision. But close fight, man. Very, very close fight. Shout out to anybody that has serious money on this fight. I feel like at that point you might have a gambling addiction. But this is a very tough fight to call. Very, very tough fight to call. But I'm going to go with the Poirier side here. But the main thing, if I were to have a lock of the night on this card, on this fight specifically, I know it's chalky. It would be the fight doesn't go to decision. All right. Justin Villegas, she only girl doing UFC fight predictions. Look up La Martin YouTube. She has a show 8:30 morning tomorrow. Okay. I will look her up and maybe I'll get her onto a future episode. Martin. Okay. I think I've seen her face around a couple times. Ryan Grant took McGregor at minus 300. I have no choice but to take him at plus odds for the value, and I already hate myself for it. I've seen that argument a lot on Twitter as well too, but like I'm seeing a ton of people saying if you took McGregor minus 300, you have to take him at plus 110. No, I don't. I don't have to take him at plus 110. We expect a lot of what people expected to happen that night was Poirier to falter under the power of McGregor, and he didn't. That is a new bit of information that we just found out. Poirier can eat those shots now, maybe at 155. Maybe that's the difference between when they fought at 145 to now them fighting at 155. So if McGregor can knock him out, can he beat him over 25 minutes? I don't know. But I think Ryan Grant, yourself, I didn't bet I don't believe I bet it myself, but McGregor at minus 300, a lot of that was based on McGregor having the power to knock out Poirier. He could still do it, but we saw them play it out and he couldn't do it. So yeah, don't force yourself into taking bets just because, whatever the fuck. If you feel comfortable with it, you feel comfortable with it. If you don't anymore, you don't. Average Joe saying, call me crazy about McGregor by decision. I am calling you crazy, my brother. Maybe he wins the first 3. I'd be surprised if he wins later rounds. Draco has Poirier by KO. I could see that. I'm at McGregor at plus value. Don't want to take away from Poirier, but his win felt really fluky, and McGregor was winning until he wasn't. McGregor inverted yoke. That'll be crazy. We just saw this fight. There's no way McGregor made changes that quickly. I disagree. He's had a solid 6 months to heal up and train. Make that money. McGregor's watching fighting for one more check. Dude quits when the fight gets grimy. I don't think he's fighting for one more check. I think he's back. I think he's going to be fighting consistently. If he loses this fight, you know who's next? Probably Nate Diaz. If he loses that fight, let's do Jose Aldo. But yeah, I don't think that this is McGregor's last fight or he's just fighting for the check at this point. Sure, the check is probably a huge part of it, but I do think that he has intentions on fighting a little bit more. He's still young, man. He still has some fight years in him. I think he's 20, or sorry, he's 32, so he probably has another solid 4 years or so. He could definitely have some favorable matchups to end his career on a bit of a winning streak. Average Joe. Now, normally you auto bet Poirier in this situation, but McGregor is McGregor, so he can still win. I agree. Matt Hudson, McGregor was praying for Manny, so you're arrogantly try to box with Dustin. I bet he at least changes that. Don't know if it'll be enough. I disagree with that narrative. I think that's just something that's been thrown out there. Yeah, I don't like to read into that stuff a little bit too much. Make that money saying last time McGregor was a serious contender, Obama was president. That's hilarious. So saying McGregor could lose 10 fights and still be superstar status. I agree. Kung Dao Chicken, fun fact, McGregor's a 500 fighter at 155. Interesting note. 0 to 100 in the chat. Appreciate you stopping by, brother. Alexander Ryan, O'Malley inside the distance, Wonderboy inside the distance, Connor Poirier under 4.5 plus 569. I like it. Wail saying, bro, if McGregor loses again, I will be so heartbroken. Be prepared. I take Nate in the Connor rematch. 5th round, Nate is a mythical fighter. I'd probably take Connor in that rematch. He made 100 million off of whiskey. Yeah, that was a crazy. Apparently, he's opening like a prestigious bar in Ireland now as well, so he's probably going to make a ton of money off of that too. McGregor is back to fight for checks, like Nate Diaz said. Rich people shouldn't fight ever. Bob Bear is saying Connor has a lot of money fights left. Yeah, you got the Aldo rematch, you got the Diaz rematch, you got him against Masvidal. Maybe that would be a super fight of some sort. There you go. Average Joe, it's one of those fights that shouldn't even be happening. Like Poirier should be fighting for the belt, and the fact alone scares me on Poirier's mentality. I think Poirier is just out at it for the money fights at this point as well. He knew he was going to make way more money fighting Connor than he was going to fight Charles or fucking Michael Chandler. Great Cornholio saying, got any DGen parlays for this card? You know what? I'll just give you guys some of my more confident money line plays here, in case you guys want to throw together a parlay. Let's go Tavares, Topuria, Pereira, Griffin, O'Malley, Tuivasa, and Thompson. Go ahead and mix and match those guys as you please, but I think that those are pretty good spots. So you think you're going to rematch Aldo? It would be an intriguing fight. If Aldo keeps barking for it, they could do it at 145, 155 if they want. Actually, McGregor's not going back down to 145 when I'm talking about. I'm sure Aldo would come up to 155, but Connor can call his shots. And if he sees that he can take advantage of Aldo again, why not? Make that money right on the money right there. Buffo and the big John McCarthy said the best. If you stick around long enough in the sport, you always end up on someone else's highlight reel. We saw with Ronda, Anderson, BJ Penn, Connor's time passed. Yeah. Richard Perez, Poirier clearly stated it made sense to take the Connor fight for the money on Rogan's podcast. Exactly. Thoughts on Gon versus Lewis? Want to lock this in before it moves? Yeah, I'd take Gon there, man. Again, I think he passed the test on Jairzinho Rosenstrike, and I think that's just like the level below Derek Lewis. I think he beats Lewis pretty soundly here. Always got to worry about that Derek Lewis knockout, but I think that Gon wins this fight. What are the odds at right now? Minus 275? Yeah, obvious. I'm taking Star Gon. Maybe by decision as well. Call me Jose Senior. Oh, I like it. That was hilarious. Appreciate you stopping by. About better. Get great corn. Holio luck. Use my G cheers for the picks. Good luck on this weekend. You guys as well. All right, that's a wrap on the show. We hit that 2-hour mark. So no stream tomorrow. I'll be dropping my pre-recorded version of this podcast tomorrow morning or super late tonight. And what else we got? Thursday, propping you up, me and Cody, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Friday, live weigh-in show. I'm going to be on Z's podcast as well. He's finally making his return. Z's MMA. Make sure you guys go follow him. That's my boy. He's doing his Fair Play podcast again. I'm going to be one of his guests on that show at 6 p.m., I believe, on Friday. And then obviously the Ultimate Weigh-In show, 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. I can't wait to drop the guests for you guys, but I just can't do it yet. But as soon as I get the 100% confirmation, I will be able to do so. Hope to see you guys throughout the week in the streams. And yeah, good luck on all your bets, all your wagers, and hopefully we can make some money with this comeback UFC event after we had 1 week off. All right. Peace out, fellas. Well, I'll see you guys on Thursday evening for propping you up. Please do join us then, 8 p.m. Eastern. Me and Cody propping you up. All right. Peace out.